People are coming in. Excellent. Welcome to Methods. Let's see what's in here. Buenos dias. Good morning. We got about 8 minutes till class gets started. I'm down some water and go get some more. Gonna be talking a lot today. You don't drink nearly enough water. But we'll talk. I know I said I was going to be sending out a quick poll for you all. I did not get that out over the week. Oh my goodness. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Mine was crazy. I'll tell you guys about that and kind of chart out the next week for you all and future plans and that kind of stuff. Because I've got a whole bunch of stuff getting ready to get loose for you guys if you want to work on it for like our time frame got much more compressed on it. I really want you guys to have that time to read and play with some of the stuff I'm getting ready to send you. It's just, oh my God, the last week has just been crazy. I thought Thanksgiving would be kind of restful with family coming in and the pressures get off of you a little bit. But it's family then. It's like the more family there's around, sometimes they add pressures. Make a long story short, yes, you'd say in-laws. They were visiting over Thanksgiving. Father, stepfather, heart attack. Now sitting in the hospital still. Right now they're making a decision as to whether or not they're doing a surgery there or moving to Central Arkansas first because that's where they're from. Oh gosh, it's just been that now. Oh, good God. If you don't have your health, there's not really like that's one of the most important things right there. Who cares? It's important. Also, it's like the family stuff. It's like the good lesson I like to have in here relates to that play on light and dark because it's seasonal. Yeah, people get seasonal depression, stuff like that. It's like, what you need to think about is the effects of light in darkness because what happens is it's more powerful there. So just go turn on a light if things start feeling dark and then stop and realize why do you think every major religion, I think without exception, has a hey, come on, has a holiday in the winter season because that whole positivity, negativity, light, darkness thing. All right, 5 minutes. I'm gonna go grab some water. You doing well today?
Yeah.
Good. It's good to see an actual person here today. I'm getting everybody else to grab. Looking at you. You guys. Hi. All right. Do you have a good Thanksgiving? Excellent. I love to hear that. Tell me more.
My girlfriend of like 8 months, she went to my parents' Thanksgiving instead of going to hers. So it's a little weird on her end, like telling her parents that she's gonna be at my Thanksgiving. But it went nice.
That's awesome. Heck yeah. That's excellent. Good. Good. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I love you. especially when it's like the uncomfortable one. It's like, oh my god. Have you ever seen this is an old one, but it should I would think it would fall into kind of common. Meet the Parents. Okay, so it's got Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro in it. If she was nervous, or if you've not met hers yet, watch that. Scary, absolutely. Hilarious film. Hilarious. In it, I'll give you a little bit of a brief what it's about. Ben Stiller's dating. I can't remember the name of the female actress. Zero, but I can't remember the name of it. Been dating and getting ready to propose. Found out that she's, I guess, more traditional and wants father's approval because she hears, I guess, a conversation about sister or something like that. So he sends I to meet the parents and going to pop the question. And so meets Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro does not like, and so it just takes off from there. And it just, oh, I can't tell you more because it just gets even better. But it's associated with this field, I'll tell you that. And so it's like, oh, good God, does it get better? Oh, that's actually made, I think, 3 of those films. I didn't know that. I knew they made a second one a few years back afterwards. And then apparently a few years after that, they made another one. More people. 2 minutes. But we got, what is it, 2 more minutes left? Yeah. And then so we'll give a quick sit rep. We'll pick up the lesson and then outline what's next. Because we just out of time. I did not get stuff out to you before Thanksgiving. And I hadn't had time over Thanksgiving to get out to you just because stuff going. Oh my goodness. Did we have class in here on the last, was that? No, we didn't meet Monday because, yeah, there was too much stuff going on. But that Wednesday before, did we have class that day? Because I missed some classes that day because I got locked out.
I believe you were sick on Wednesday.
Can't remember. So there's one I was sick, and then there's one. So for the ones that I sent announcements for, I'll let you know if I'm not going to be here. The ones where I didn't have announcements, I was actually here. Tell me that's not a rough one. I got locked out of everything, and I don't know if I told you guys about that one last time. Access to passwords and how many times you have to change those, and the fact they have to be, what is it, 64 letters now? And so what I remember there is I remember my conversation with you all, because I have it in this class most often. Like if you're working on something important, keep 3 copies of it somewhere, right? And in different places. I should have done that same thing with passwords, and I wasn't thinking about it because I only had my backup, my personal email. Because I don't really use personal email for verifications on my work computer, which they replaced like 2 weeks before. I was like, dude, that's my fault. And then over Thanksgiving, family visiting, father-in-law, heart attack, still in the hospital, awaiting surgery, major blood clot in aorta, likely cancer. Yeah, that was dangerous. And so right now they're making the decision as to whether they move him before or after surgery. Yeah, it's one of those. Kept going. This was in good spirits, kind of last time I heard. Let's see there. So that one's going to be moving a little bit slower on that. That's one of the reasons why. So good. Long semester. It's moving fast. Almost over. And I want to get you all ready for presentations and that kind of stuff. My plan was to get you guys the PowerPoint templates out to you, some data sets to play with, and some fields to fill. I'll be doing that. It may take me a little bit more time than I'd like. It's because I had the same kind of problem last semester too. It won't take long. The big one I was wanting to get you guys ready for, and there's still a lot of time for it. Undergraduate research day. No. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. It's like, good God, I'm doing here the whole semester. If I start out the whole semester, oh my goodness. It actually started about 2 years ago when I died. I came back. Like, that's a different story. I don't know if I told you guys that. That's a different. That's the first thing. Where was I going? Undergraduate research day. That comes up next semester, if I remember correctly. I think it's in March. And so preparing for something like that will probably be the first place I'll be looking for undergraduate student presentations if you want to do it. That's completely, well, it's not anything that I hold anybody's feet to fires to. In terms of surveys and that kind of stuff in here, I will do a poll in here probably within about an hour of getting out to the very next one. Why? Because I want to see, yeah, I'm gonna give you guys the option of completing the PowerPoint kind of stuff in lieu of final. Because I want to be built pretty easy. Final itself, you have unlimited. Just the way the semester's been. It's like, we're not making it all the way through those chapters, and if they're in there, take it as many times as you want. I'll be extremely keen because that shit's rough to read. I don't like reading. And I have to do this stuff. That's horrible. How much it's like for you guys? Ew. And so we'll continue working on that. If you're interested in the undergraduate research day, we'll start scheduling, and then we'll probably take really much work the conversation. We wanted to get you guys ready for this. But very formulaic, not quite like fully scripted, but the way it's skeletonized, you can tailor it to almost anything. Pretty easy to work with. Always a good experience for all of you. And for the undergraduates, that was the first one for you. The graduates, you guys are a little harder to identify because depending on your time frames, it's like probably the big one I'd be looking for you would be the Southwestern Association in the fall, in October. So a little bit more time there. So that's a shorter program. So I've got to work those time gaps in there for everybody, that kind of thing. And so I'm working on that one. For those of you that present undergraduate research day, I'll also be eyeing those avenues too. The regional, national organizations, those opportunities will be coming up. Those have kind of a really fast turnaround, which is why you've not heard me talking about anything March next semester for graduates, because their call for proposals happens at the beginning of the previous semester. So like back in September, they're asking for those, and that's way too early in this class to get those out. But we'll continue with that kind of stuff if you guys want to, because that's a lot of fun. And if you do it, you get to have a lot of fun conversation and see what the stuff's about a bit more directly. And plus you get to well, at a minimum, it's lines on your resume. Right. And I'll give you guys formats for that stuff too. And so we'll work on that too. So those are options. I'm really curious to see who breaks for one, because whenever I get set up, it should be. Let's see here. You pick up the rest of these lessons. Exam will be available, unlimited attempts. How many quizzes do we get here? I know I had it set up for 8. We weren't going to get through all 8 because I had some of those reserved for in-person pop if you guys stopped showing up for class and such, and that didn't really happen so much. That's policing. Put it on here, one of these. That's this one. Let's go down to boop. This one. Yes, we started talking a little bit about this. We didn't quite get through all of it. In terms of quizzes, we should have stopped at 3. That's not good. I'll pop out a few of those, and what I'll do is I'll pop out 2 of them, maybe 2 or 3, and cover these chapters. And again, those will be unlimited. So with that, this will also be a little bit of a prep for the exams. That way, you guys can get a little bit of practice in on that. When we start moving into the next chapter, what's the next one? Interpreting, evaluation, and problem analysis. All right, this one will go pretty quick, and then the next one's interpreting data. And I realized I put the wrong PowerPoint in there because I don't think I have the right one for it. We never really get to interpreting these classes. It's always a long class to that one. Technically, so when we talk about methodology, it's sort of like statistics, depending on which university you're at, which class you're at, what level. You'll have it split in a number of different forms. Some will actually break it across, like you might have a stats 1 or a stats 2 that conjunction with your methods. You might have methods 1, methods 2. Not necessarily weighting either, because the other thing that they'll do is they'll break it up by topic. You have methods, and then you have something. In this one, it would be what do you say? Instead of interpreting results, it'd be like regression, a class on that as a topic, because it's its own series of specialized statistics. Really simple to get. The actual math line is a little bit more complex and how it all works. And so that's the stuff that I'll start teaching how to play with a little bit, but realize that they don't really do that until you're well into graduate programs. For stuff. And so that's why it's kind of atypical. It's what it seems real weird and not your standard kind of form of classes, because it's a lot of opportunity. Yeah, we just had the 3 quizzes. I meant to pop out a couple more than that. I had it set where I had 2 ready for here in class if I needed to. Each half the semester. So I really want, so I have not one ready to pop out right away. I'll have that out later today. Um, let's see here from there. So probably won't get into that one. It's pretty straightforward stuff. That'll actually be where I start showing them how to do it. That's what's really at. Being able to pull the information out of the numbers and know what they mean. Basically, we start looking at there stuff we've already been talking. I've been teaching it to you already. It's just when we do it, you'll see how it all fits. All right. So when we start looking at evaluation, research, problem analysis, probably the biggest thing for you here is to remember this word right here. Goals followed closely by measures. And your first question is do you have it? Because that's where it's going to start. Because most times it's like not really. Yeah, here it says different stages of policy process. And so whether it's you're analyzing a policy or evaluating an organization or a program or something like that, that's going to be the very first place you start. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? And how are we doing it? Right? Well, drilling into stuff. Why are we doing it? How are we doing it? And are we actually going to the measures? Right? And so there's quite a bit in where it talks about that process of being able to identify what the actual, like if it's a problem, what is the problem that you're going to be addressing? And it's the same process they talk about in terms of like the methodological process. It's the same kind of thing. And you'll see in a few different areas. I can't remember if they mentioned it here. I was trying to see if I could see it referenced. It probably referenced down here. Got it. I'd be like over in policing, they use the same kinds of things. This one would be on the policing side of it. Scan, analyze, respond, assess. That's kind of the cycle, because it's once you see, you figure out what you're going to do. You take that actual action and you look to see what's happened. And then you go back to the scan. So it's a cyclical process. It is the methodological process to some degree. If you're doing it right, it will matter. Correlate to it correctly because you're doing it the same way if you're doing it right. All right. Let's see here. Evaluation, research, and problem analysis are increasingly important activities. Effects of policies, problem analysis. Public officials select alternative action. We're going to start talking about policy analysis, problem analysis, policy evaluation. So policy evaluation is its own realm. If you want to get real heavy into it, see Dr. Fitz, he does that kind of stuff. I don't know if he likes it or maybe he's a masochist. I don't know. That's what this stuff always felt like to me. But they break it out into two steps for that policy stuff. One of it's problem analysis, one of it's the evaluation side, right? Most times when you go in, and I remember there might be things in the book whenever I said it, it's like most times when you go in, it's like even the book will acknowledge that it's like they probably don't even know what the damn problem is, right? Because what it is I have some goodwill, I have an organization, let's do something. They're doing something, but are they? It's like find out. And so you'll start with that process of identifying the problem. It's going to look like that kind of thing, or the methodological process really is what you start talking, because it's the same kind of thing. All right. All types of designs, measures, data collection techniques used in evaluation, research, and problems. Yes. Reflects desire in the criminal justice researchers to make a difference in the world. Increases, well, that's one of the reasons why we do it. Federal money and money. We want to know what we're doing.
Could you split the screen?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's see right here. Boom, boom, boom. Is it sharing the right one? Looks like it is. Okay, cool. And yeah, so I'm just talking right here where it's like bullet number 5. So basically, when we start talking about it, it's the organization right there. You start dealing with organizations. Really, what you're dealing with is funding streams and that kind of stuff. That's. You want to see organizations change? Basically, what the federal government does is start a program. Money is attached. You meet those requirements. Hey, here's some money. Every organization will want additional. Well, it wants resources. Some are in dire need of them, and so you let that be that pressure moves things that way. That's how that works. That's why that's listed there. Okay, evidence-based policy. Yeah. That's just trying to make that link. And I guess I almost want to get a little bit pessimistic here and say it's new language to make the same stuff that we've always had trouble with seeing new. It's a new problem. Basically, it's just making that link. See that what we're doing actually works and we're doing it right. There's always the major concern with even looking might be bad, because if you do, and you actually look, you might see something. Yeah, that's really because they use a lot of it's evidence based. It's like to some degree you're dealing with buzzwords, to some degree you're doing something real. When you're doing something real, you're putting off a real research, like on the analysis side. But realize it's like you kind of get a little bit of that, like what you do with if you're in policing right now. I think I mentioned it in terms of like community oriented policing. People say they do it. Do that. Some do. Not everything. Here, George Mason University Center for Evidence-Based Crime Policy. Okay. Here's where it starts talking about topics and their appropriateness. And so it starts telling you about this process right here for policy development, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to develop these policies that when they're being followed, start to address some of the problems that have developed, usually because of some other type of procedure, some other thing that's taking place. All right. So the process itself says can come from the organization or outside. Yeah. That'd be like talking about social influence on like legislature. Like look at any statutes that bear anyone's name. That's what that is. It's the same kind of thing where you see the social side starting to have an influence. Or it'd be like, nope, I won't say that. Ultimate goals. Yeah, you start with those goals. Your resources are allocated from there, and then you start dealing with maintenance kind of stuff, recurring issues, decisions, that kind of stuff. Outputs. Whenever you see outputs, what they mean there is, what are you doing? Right? You have your inputs, right? Everything associated with the things that you're doing. That's people, your supplies. We have X number of employees, these number of workstations, all that stuff comes in. And that was your inputs. Outputs, what do you get in? Here's is this economics or is this marketing? Advertising, maybe? If you don't pay for a product, what does that mean?
Stolen.
That's one way. But what else? Let's say it's not stolen. I like that though. You're going after my heart there. That's a bad one. It's stolen. Yeah, good. I'm bad with things. I'm good. What was the question?
You don't pay for a product.
You are the product. Think of advertising. Every TV commercial you've ever watched. Green cola. Yeah. They're paying that to put that in front of you because they want to affect you. Right? So always think of that too. Basically, what I'm identifying there is it's not always what people think. Okay. Impacts, here's what it talks about it. What it's trying to achieve. Output there is just what it's done. It should align with your impacts, your goals, but sometimes they don't when you're assessing these things. Okay. Here's where it starts talking about problem analysis. Problem analysis is an example of social research procedure to help officials analyze alternative actions, choose among them, and formulate routine practice implementing policy. It takes place in the policy-making stage. Usually should take place in the policy-making stage. Sometimes it does take place after there's been a policy made. Oops, we messed something up, right? Because that happens too. I want to say that there was something that popped in my mind for a second. Kind of dark. Had to do with consulting kind of thing. It's like, if you were a consultant, if you did it, how many levels did you just involve yourself with there? But you're going to help the analysis to identify the actions. You're gonna help choose among them and formulate the routine practices too. It's like, golly, it's like you're at multiple levels. Academics, you have to watch it. That's what I'm saying. It's like, that's actually pretty good. So you can start to see the uses of methodology right here. You want to evaluate things, consulting. It's like, I don't do this, but I could. There's been plenty of people in our field who do stuff like this, where it's like outside consulting. I'm going to analyze this. Whether it's they give me all their data and I just run some numbers, or whether it's we're going to sit down and really study this thing, right? It's a skill. All right. Program evaluation takes place after policy making stage, asks policies being implemented as planned and are they achieving their goals. So that's the big divergence right there that it talks about. Processes and outcomes, kind of, or insights, right? Process evaluation, like due process. You follow the procedures. Procedures maintain themselves properly. Does it have the right effect? Sometimes things do, sometimes things don't. That's why the biggest criticism of governmental action is their names. Yeah, like that's funny. That's funny right there. There's a typo right here. Impact and process evaluation here thing. It says here, are we doing things right? That is the impact. Or not impact, that's process. Impacts are how are we doing, right? Are we actually doing what we're supposed to be doing? Not are we doing, nope, they did it right. Right things versus things right. I hate that phrase. Don't do it that way. Process is how, impact is what, right? What happened? Better way to put that rather than playing with right and things. Right things and things right. I don't like that at all. That's really hard to look at fast. All right. Getting started. Okay, so here's where it's going to start outlining all the different steps they put in. Okay, first one should be problem analysis. We start identifying what the problem is, identifying choices. Sometimes it's, how are we doing on this thing? Okay, we're going to come in here, and then we have to go back a stage. Right, where you start at the process evaluation. We're actually going to be doing over here. Go back to problem analysis and make sure these things align first. Sometimes you'll be here, process evaluation, impact assessments, that kind of thing. Here's if you're really, really early and you're really getting into it, they'll have I can't say that word. They're going to evaluate whether or not it is able to be evaluated. We'll evaluate that first. It's like, you guys are just stacking stuff up. This seems like a pyramid scheme. I don't know. And that's just me. But that's what kind of what they're talking about here is like, this evaluation, maybe threatening public officials. And so it just starts telling you about the problem formulation stuff and the same kinds of things. Probably a good way to think about this is if you think back to like that process associated with like interviewing and sponsorship and all that kind of stuff, making those inlets. You have those same kinds of things that you need to do here. Because you're trying to figure out for the people, who are asking to figure out what's going on. You're going to find out who has some effect. Who's affected by the soil. And so if you do it right, you'll have all those things involved. Measurements are all what we've been talking about. And remember, it's the XY kind of stuff. Make sure you measure context, delivery, and all that other stuff that we've been talking about. That stuff made me on. Okay. So here's what it starts talking about. Designs using basic source readily adapted to evaluation research. So randomization, while it's required, this design cannot be used in many situations. Yeah, randomization is usually there's not, well, I should say usually. Depending on what you're dealing with, there might not be enough there to do that. Or it might be unethical. Like think about the whole rehabilitation thing. We're going to give you at random. I don't need rehabilitation. You're getting rehabilitated. It's like, okay. Yeah. So moves into program and agency acceptance, minimum exceptions to random assignment, that kind of stuff. So basically what it starts telling you about is it's going to depend on the specific types of analyses you need to use. Some of these can be bent in certain ways, some of these can be broken. And so it's like, if I run a correlation on these numbers to see what they're, how much they overlap, how many people do I need to measure before I know that it's going to be accurate to what degree? Right? And so you can statistical coincidence side control group is threatened, that kind of stuff. Case flow for sample size, that's going to be another one. Right? Because all those things we talked about before when we start dealing with numbers. Treatment fidelity, those types of things. Anytime you're dealing with this, you're dealing with real people again. So if you think about it, it's like all those issues that we were talking about before, whether it's intercoder reliability, that's a correlate to it right there. Right? Only this time it's in the delivery side rather than the observation side. Okay. Did. Yeah. Rough equivalent to measure. Yeah, so it's literally they start making correlates to these different systems because they operate the same kind of way. Yeah, experimental designs applied, often study problems related to treatment inconsistencies. Yeah. Just in dealing with like an actual organization, like spreadsheets, that kind of thing, you can see the inconsistencies immediately. I mean, if you've got anything that's had, particularly if it's more than a couple of years kind of thing, because it's even set up the same, the inputs, the way people type things will change, right? And so, and that's just on the simple stuff. That's not everything else related to this. Here it talks about quasi-experimental designs. Yeah, that's going to be kind of more common. I don't know if I can talk too much about the designs themselves. When it starts talking about nested into experimental designs, what they're talking about there, just like how it kind of seems like they're stacking these analyses to really dive into a problem. This process, you have to think of this as almost like a scaffold to some degree, something that doesn't physically exist. And so that's why they did it that way. That's why first thing would be, can we evaluate this? Let's ask that question. Slice, right? Okay. What is the problem that we have specifically here? Slice. Okay. What steps can we take to address it? What are the next things that we can do related to slice? Right. Quasi-experimental, let's start mentioning nesting. Probably the easiest way that I'll be able to explain nesting is think of counties, right? They're within states within the country. You can set up an analysis that can measure the differences across all of those levels simultaneously for that thing and other things all together. That's what I mean by nesting. So you literally, it'd be like building a model, and within that model of the town, I'm going to put inside this little town, right? Here's this model, this issue. I'm going to stick this little town in here. I'm going to measure that kind of thing. That would be nested within it. So this is a subsection. Here'd be another example. Surveys. We're talking about surveys. You have questions about victimization? Yes, no. Right? They said yes. Guess what? You got a bunch of questions in there that are contingency questions. Those are nested in there. I mean, you can set up a what would you say? Hierarchical model where it takes into account the fact it's like, I've got these multiple levels here. We can track within level and across levels, just like we can with people and this thing itself. And so you start building all of these things together. And you start being able to say, it's like, okay, the within difference between is this level is this. Okay. Exposed evaluations. So So depending on the type of study you might have, when it says ex post evaluation, they might redirect you to follow up, which I'm going to think that later on now the line. Usually what I've seen in terms of that, the common whenever you have the redirect there, usually you want more and more information. So that's usually like a mixed methods approach for those certain qualitative interviewing. So we'll get a lot more person to those people because the amount of data that's there, they'll need to be able to acquire directly. And so as that happens, you have more likely to start moving in that area too. Larger treatment use, non-equivalent groups, time series designs. Non-equivalent groups, time series designs, we've already talked about that stuff in earlier chapters. So basically it's like, yeah, we're gonna just run through rehabilitation. Like those groups are not gonna be the same. Those that need a rehabilitation need rehabilitation. Don't give somebody who needs rehabilitation, do not give rehabilitation to someone who does not need it, and do not deny someone the rehabilitation they need. Like, so those groups are not gonna be the same. There's a lot of different ways to analyze that, but that's one of those quasi-experimental designs. Time series designs, that's where you have you're just doing the same kind of thing but across time. Understand causal processes. Time series crucial for interpreting how those underlying causal forces work and how the indicators are produced. Let's talk about time for a second. How much time do we have? Not rhetorical question. How much time do we have? No answers? No one knows how much time. How are you getting on this? That's good. So here, probably the biggest thing I want you guys to think about, and you probably already heard this said, it's like, what is the best predictor for future behavior? Yes. Okay. So for what kind of time frame and what kind of cumulative nature? You don't all do the same things. What are we looking at here? That's a big question because it's like, okay, think about it this way. What's going to have a greater effect on, we'll say, crime in a city in specific locations? Where crime has historically been for the past 50 years, or crime has been for the last week. There's going to be an overlap there. There are some differences though. What's going to have the greater effect? There's no way to tell until you actually get in there, start checking, right? Is it going to be just the previous measurements, crime levels that are used to try to predict the future ones for this 5-year interval? Is it going to be just a 1-year interval? We want to look back and see, maybe it's additive. So it's like, it's just a lag kind of thing. Just stay both lag in terms of behind, but also cumulative keeps adding up. No, there's all kinds of ways you can do it. How do you know which one's best? No one spans time in that way. This is the only way that we can go back in time. All right. Other types of evaluation studies. Yeah, I'll get on that. Problem analysis and scientific realism. That's jargon. I don't care about that. Okay, problem-oriented policing, auto theft, problem analysis. Okay, so here's where I start getting into the really good stuff. And so here's where I can actually talk about some. Sorry. But that's at 11:50. I've got no sense for that. So if you are dealing with an area, you have a problem, you want to address it. There's all kinds of different ways that you can address it. Like most people, it's like they usually think like crime stuff, police involvement. There's all kinds of easier ways in some ways, less direct ways to address it, right? Here they talk a little bit about like some of the crime prevention stuff, because crime prevention is one of those ones where you want to have a future effect. So it kind of, rather than just be an analysis of what is, it's literally set up with that whole purpose in mind. So it's a little bit different in that regard than most research, I guess, but not really. It's just a bit more direct. crime mapping, 4 different things. 1 or more types of crime: space, area, time period, dimension, land use, streets. Like, so whenever you start analyzing this stuff, you're really going to look at it and you want to make a change. 1, you have to figure out where these crimes are taking place, right? Depending on how close you look, what you see is massively different, right? If I look at counties, I'm going to see one picture. If I look at city blocks, it's another. So if I look at the individual street segments, it's a different picture, right? Usually they go with street networks kind of thing. That street segments are really common for a unit there. You can map that stuff out pretty quickly. What good does that do? You know where it's at. Where it starts to have some good, can we move? Would be an easy way to move it. I'll change that street structure. Right? You can see it quite directly now. In terms of crime mapping and all those other issues, tools look, yeah, they do look eerily similar. I showed you that with SPSS and Excel, how they look the same. ArcGIS is the most common one for mapping. It looks the same way. The only difference is if I had, I don't think I have it on this one. And when I last signed into the remote desktop, it didn't have either. You ask them about that. That's not what I want. Right here. Let's. Yeah, I didn't see it there. Whew. Sorry for the yawn. Long night. Okay. And so really on the surface, very simple. It's just hard parts knowing which buttons to click when, that kind of thing. Scientific realism, applied research, context-driven mechanism, and program-led. I don't care about that. So here's where it starts talking about realistic approach. Realist approach is case study approach. So more variable oriented. And so it talks about generalizability and that kind of stuff. Here's the real meat right there. Political context and applied research, right? Politics. You got in the realms of social stuff. Everybody's got an opinion, as ill, unfounded, or rightfully founded as it might be. Everyone there has some level of influence. That's a rough one. Reminds me of a conversation I had where it was talking to someone who worked in the medical examiner's office. And excuse me. It was a fun, interesting conversation because it's not the person like we started talking about the position and the responsibilities and the role of ethics. It was happenstance conversation. Pretty cool. To start talking about it's like, yeah, it's like in terms of that kind of a position, those offices, what kind of damage can a negative political influence do? The amount of discretion, the authority associated with that position, and so few people that it answers to because of what it is, what it does, and the role of ethics and morality being so essential to it. People overlook it because it's sort of like the to serve and protect. It's like there's no requirement that protect. That's not there. There's like 4 circumstances where they're required to protect. It's not you. It's not me. Right. And so that's the way that works. Now there's some situations where it can be you, not by default. That's not it. And so you can see that same kind of sentiment there. Politics there. In terms of that one, what I would recommend, if you've never seen it, it used to be available on YouTube. You have a couple of disclaimers on it because you have a great team watching. Boys on the Tracks. It's a documentary from the 90s, from a correctly. Tied in with politics, but what it is it identifies the role of the medical examiner or coroner. I can't remember which person's office he held, but rumored direct political connections, massive errors in terms of official causes of deaths, things like that. And on top of that, as that was going on, getting huge raises. People are calling for that person to be fired because of all the errors. And instead of that, give him a raise. That seems suspicious. Um, that one itself is about some boys on the tracks. Remember, it's 3 boys, ages 24 to 14, found dismembered. They'd fallen asleep on the train track. Okay. We're watching video guys clean up the crime scene. They're like, there's a big gun over here, a big shotgun, a rifle or something. That's not any of theirs. Where did that go? Wait, what? Oh, yeah. My favorite one was me and this guy said in this report, yes, the body is missing. This is a different one. Same guy, different murder. Yes, this body is missing a head. The dog ate it. Ate the whole head. That's a lot of bone. That's a big skull. Yeah, it does. Time. Like a week later, the neighbor finds it not very far away from the scene. Fucking head. It's like, there you go. Yeah, no, yeah, there's some big problems there. I think that one was ruled an accident. It's like it's a beheading, and the head is not there. That is not. That is not. Okay, it could be an Epstein thing. I mean, that's a suicide, right? Sorry, I couldn't help but say that one. Roger, get out of here before too long. But that's the kind of thing you start dealing with politics because it has a direct influence here. And you have to be aware of that. And you have to take that into account. You have to treat it like it's really there because you know it is. And if it isn't, and you don't treat it that way, oh, that's going to be a heck of a fire right there. It really is. Evaluation and stakeholders, that kind of thing. So the first thing it talks here is about identifying your stakeholders, people who have influence, skin of the game, that kind of thing. Yeah. So here's what they're concerned about. They want to see what it can be done with. Basically, that's what you start rolling there. Educate stakeholders what evaluation should be conducted. So you're going to have to argue with them to begin with. That's kind of common though. Make your case that way because you want them to give you time. Digital claim criminal justice research, either applied or basic, is value free. I don't know if I like that statement. Our own beliefs, preferences affect topics we choose to investigate. Okay, so that's where it starts talking about biases. Yeah. Biases. Yeah, everybody's got one. It's like eyes, you don't see them. You see with them. You know, some things called mirrors that you can use, right? There are ways to address that. What that's like kind of a cop out saying that, yeah, sometimes we don't. Sometimes people should you, of course, always do. Yeah. Is it smart for you to do that? No. Is it what's right? Yeah. What should you do? I don't know. That's up to you guys. You have to figure that one out later. That's morality. All right, and that's basically that chapter. Yay. That's chapter 13. I think, like I said, 14. I think I'll warn me about this because the file was corrupted, I guess. Because I downloaded it from Dry, which means 14 got saved over by chapter 11. That sucks. And I still seldom look at that, but I can give you this one. Cute. All right. After reading this, descriptive statistics, summarize data under studies, frequencies, that kind of stuff. So there's a few points in here where it talks about some specifics tests. I can talk about that a little bit. Most of the stuff we've actually already been talking about. We've been talking about most of the semesters. This is what I actually focus on because this is what it actually does. When you start dealing with it, it's going to tell you again about descriptives, distributions, central tendencies, dispersions. Then it goes correlations and regression. They're going to map almost one for one for those purposes that you have the very first chapter when we first started talking about it, right? And so the very first thing is, what the hell is it, right? That's described. Those are your univariate measures. Univariate, one variable, right? You'll literally see it in those screens. It'll be analysis, univariate measures. The first thing you need to do. Remember, this thing's a knife. You cut it in half. Where's the middle? That's literally what you're doing. It's literally following almost like if you're dealing with like a person. Gotta dissect this. Right? Why is it? Okay, well, that's the next thing. You find both ends. That's your dispersion, right? Those your distribution. How is the spread, right? Dispersion has to do with the same kind of thing. The distribution is the overall thing. The dispersion has to do with its shape, right? That's going to be your skew and kurtosis. We talked about that already. Okay. Write examples of rates as descriptives that standardize some measure for comparative purposes. What is the murder rate for our top most murderous cities here in the United States? Can you find out? Okay. Deadliest cities in the US. Oh my goodness, here we go. 20 most dangerous. This is updated. Oh, and it's from a .com at a blog. This has got to be it. Yeah, okay. Memphis is number one, most dangerous city. Population of 600,000. That's 100 crimes per 100,000 people. That means you have a 1 or 0.1%. No, I'm not exactly how that works, but it's like, if that worked that way, it's like if everyone just had that one crime, you're like, yeah. Most common, aggravated assault. Oh, I love that. Okay. So crime rate itself is 97. Violent is 24. St. Louis, 87. Okay. That one I didn't give the one. Little Rock. Yeah, I love Little Rock. It's up there. Okay. These numbers are going down. Little Rock. Minneapolis. Detroit. Detroit's more safe. No. Little Rock's, oh, hell no. The only time I've ever had to draw down on people been in Little Rock. And I've had. It's like, that shit sucks. Don't ever do that. Make sure you're in safe places. And if you're questionable, it's probably dangerous. Get the hell out of here. I had to find that one out the hard way. I agree. Yeah. Little Rock's dangerous. You're talking about less than 200 deaths a year. Usually it's around about 170 murders, 175. Detroit, a lot more. Chicago, what is that? Weekend? No, I'm just kidding. It's not quite that bad, but damn, it's not far from it, right? What you start dealing with is you're comparing apples and oranges, and they're trying to find a way to make dollars and cents of it. It doesn't work like that, though. You can do that. You can make those arguments. But when you look at it from that realistic perspective again, realize what you're dealing with here. There's a lot more of the room for discussion. Guess it's getting close to time. I guess it is. All right. So with that, ooh, don't move around. I don't know what the hell you did there. That's not what I was doing. Yeah. And so from there, it's just once you have like one measure, then it's a relationship to its other. And then if you have other things you think are related, then you're off into regression. That's all it is. It's just across the interactions of those things you're just mapping out. It's really simple. It's just, are you mapping it out in geography? Or are you mapping it out on a grid? Or is it, if you're doing the qualitative stuff, are you trying to map out what the hell's going on in that environment? Right? And that's not going to be like, I have a map and I'm going to be doing dots. It's going to be like, okay, I'm seeing this kind of thing going on over here with this group of people, this good working, what the hell's going on over there? That kind of thing. And you keep going back and back through it until you finally figure out exactly what you're missing, because you'll know you're missing something. But with that, I think we'll pick up there next time. If y'all have any questions or anything, let me know. If you let me know you have questions by email, I will be in contact. It'll be slow going. I'm so sorry. Yeah, how many times I've said so sorry? So sorry. Oh, that was bad. Annie, we'll finish out the semester strong. You guys are doing great. I don't have any of you that are really human heart thing or anything like that. If you miss anything, get in if you haven't gotten it in already. Those of you that I was aware of might have missed stuff. I'd already kind of related that to you, I think. And I didn't have any time to check. I need to get back in the check. So if you got anything that I haven't graded, don't worry about it. I'll grade it. If you can submit anything, that means you haven't submitted. Submit it. I'll grade it. Good grief. With that, you all take care. Have a great day, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye.